Good afternoon, Sangha. Good afternoon, Sangha. Welcome to Sunday. I have one announcement today. If you will be local in the area and would like to participate in a Thanksgiving meal at Heartwood Thursday after the Dharma contemplation, please RSVP to Heartwood by tomorrow so that preparations can be made, and wherever you are, may you be blessed with a beautiful day. Thank you.
Oh, it's so good to see so many faces today. So I love this song because it says, "'Tis the gift to be simple. 'Tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down to where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shall not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight. Till by turning, we come out right." So when I would be working with uh, I have such an aversion to them. I can't even think of what you call them. It's people who help you exercise. Yeah, yeah. And we go through some routine. Then they say, walk it out, you know. And we just start walking, trying to like shake it out or whatever. And that's what we do in our spiritual practice. Uh, and we're intending to do something better, something different, but we're still in the same trajectory. So we're just trying to add something to what we already have. We're just trying to shake it out. But the way that we make progress on this path is that we have to turn for things to come out right. And so we get this encouragement, like, like just take whatever parts you want and disregard the others. And we get this encouragement, like, uh, uh, whatever's good for you. And we want to say it in ways that don't shock, jar, or amaze people. Just a little folding of the hands, a little, just making it palatable. I remember when I started weaning my daughter off of milk, and because it was time for her to have, sort of like semi-solid food, and she didn't want it. She didn't want it. She just wanted like the sweet milk, But it was time now for her to have another kind of nutriment, a denser nutriment, something that would provide more for her, that would allow her to grow and to develop, to have strong bones, to have healthy teeth, to so that her a mind that was strengthened, her muscles, her nerves. She needed more than just meat, than just milk, and it took a little while for her to develop an appetite for it. But being a good mother, knowing that she needed it, the floor is cold, so get whatever you need. If you want to sit there, come and get a pillow, or you can move up to the front to a chair, and that's perfectly okay. So glad to see you. And so, as a good mother, I gave her what she needed, even though she didn't want it. Because that was my job, to care for her, to nurture her, to help her to be healthy until she got to the place that she could care for herself. You know what happens when it's that time. Then it's time to get your own place. And so we're like that in our spiritual practice. Once we find something, we like get a hook. Once we find something that we like hold on to that. And that becomes our mantra, that becomes our standard. But we have to keep growing. We have to keep becoming more and more mature until we come to the fullness of the measure of the stature of the one whose teachings we embrace, if there's still some place to go in it. Now, if you feel like you've gotten all that there is to get to that, then go check out something else. I remember as a Christian, I love the words of Jesus. I didn't agree with everything that happened in the church. Of course, the church didn't agree with everything that Jesus said. Because he talked about how we should, we're always talking about overlooking the slight and tolerating a fault. And he said, that we should love our enemies, do good to those that despitefully use us. Somebody takes your coat, give them your cloak, two things. I like those parts. We don't talk about those, though. We didn't talk about those so much. But I believed all of this, but I knew from the inside out that I could not walk in those words. I knew the words. I even had an idea that to be able to live in that way was noble and right, beneficial in the ultimate scheme of things. Maybe not in the moment, it didn't feel so good. But in the ultimate scheme of things, it's okay, to love people that love you like what have you done? But can you love people who don't love you? That's going to take moving from the sweet milk to the bitter vegetables. But one will grow strong. One will have the capacity to not only endure, but to help others save themselves through the example that they live and through the understanding to give the right nutriment, the right encouragement at the right time. When one is failing miserably due to greed, hatred, or delusion, and included in that is grief, lamentation, and despair. If one can say the appropriate words, the skillful words at that time that help them do that turning until one comes round right. And so we have this kind of human speak, human language, and then we have spiritual speak or spiritual language, and they are almost the opposite. For instance, birth and death. And I talked about this a little bit last week when I talked about water, and then I talked about understanding spiritual language, but I'd like to pick it up a little bit and take it a little, play-doh with it a little bit today. So when we think of birth in human language, we think of being born from the mother's womb. And this is our normal thoughts about what birth is. But when the awakened ones are speaking of birth, they're not speaking of being born from their mother's womb. They're speaking of some form of attachment. For instance, the minute I, as a human being, do a criminal act, I have just become a criminal. I have been born as a criminal. And as soon as I put away some unwholesome act, some inhumane act, I have again been born as a human. One time we talked about how difficult it is to work with each other. Just difficult. Because we all have our own thoughts, we have our own views, we have our own ways of looking at things. Different things are going on in our lives at different times. So something's more important or right in your face, and that it might not be in front of me at this moment. And so we bring to this moment that we come together all of that. So there's so many hidden things, so many concealed things, so many not obvious, not revealed things that are influencing this moment when we come together. And yet we think that we know this moment altogether. And we judge whatever's happening in this moment by what we think we know, not what is actually happening. And so that's why he encourages us to be able to do things, to practice diligently until we can overlook a fault. We can tolerate a slight. It's why he encourages us to be with things and not judge them so completely as whether they are good or whether they are bad. They're just happening. And if we get in the habit of foregoing the judgment and just being with something that is happening, then we may find out something else. Some of us are undergoing a very important lesson right now. So I thank everyone who helped us impromptu in the minute on last Sunday. It was truly wonderful. But we were not able to get the song that we were using. We rewrote the lyrics. And if you're not going to charge for it, you can, there's a fair use license. So you can like just put it out there. And truly, we're not going to charge for it. But it's going to be, we found out it was going to be used in a certain way. And this way that it was going to be used was on a, I think I can say this. Can I say this? Oh, well, I can't get my point across if I don't say some of it. Okay, so I'm going to say this is cryptic. I hope you can get it. But it's going to be on a different medium than what we had planned. You know, it's one thing to like just put something out on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. But this is going to be on a different medium, and the audience is 180 million people. Now, that changes the whole usage of this, than opposed to just posting it on our site. And so now we most definitely do have to have a license because we rewrote the song and used our own lyrics that went with somebody else's melody and somebody else's song. And so we get a call last night, like around, I think it was 10 or 11 o'clock. It says, Buddha Master said, write a song, record it tomorrow, have it engineered and delivered on Tuesday. Wait, and shoot the video. And so somebody comes and said, is this a test? I said, well, I actually think it is a test if we need to be tested. It depends on how closely we hold all of these things. Whether we hold them as like something that we have to do, I have to do it, my judgment about can it be done, you know, or my judgment about why, you know, am I just getting the call, but all of these questions, but none of those really matter, do they? But the more I dig into those questions, the more difficulties I present for myself. So Buddha Dasa said something that is very important, and I'd like to read it. He said, do work of all kinds with a mind that is void, and to the voidness surrender all the fruit. Eat the food of voidness as the holy ones do, and you will have died to yourself from the very start. And so when I read that, that's the thing about getting the words of enlightened beings and hiding it in your heart, because it can come up to as a standard against the fickle mind, and that mind that feels insecure, and that mind that questions and the mind that judges it, and the mind that just wastes time so that things can't get done that could get done if our mind wasn't over there dilly-dallying and being in all those places that we continually go. So it's a lesson in how to harness the most salient aspects of one's own heart and one's own mind. And he said to do that, you have to get out of yourself. So today, we're working on getting out of ourselves. Somebody will come up with a lyric and then they'll immediately say, that sounds so dumb. And somebody else will say, no, it doesn't. Take it further than that. Tell me how you're really feeling. And then somebody else will just write words like that one just says like off the top of the head, well, this is what I get out of it. This is how I feel. This is what happens to me. And a song is forming from that. And we will have that song today. And the thing is, I've overcome 50% of the battle. That's of feeling the pressure of writing the song, setting music to it, and laying the track. I can say this confidently while I'm on the Dharma seat, right? It's what happens when we get up off the seat. And then the other half is filming the video with no people here on Monday. That's another whole thing. I'll take care of Monday on Monday. But today, I just have one objective. And trying to enter it with a mind that is void. Without the meaning in the mind. Without the questions and the fears and the concerns. Just like Yoda, there's no try, you either do or you don't do. But it's when we get ourselves all wrapped up that right there is some kind of birth. So sometimes we talk about emptiness and we talk about no self and we talk about non-self and we say, oh, yeah, I understand. And then we start trying to press into it, like, because you're not real anyway. Like, if I'm not sitting here talking to you, then I mean, what are we doing? I'm really here. This is not a dream. This is a direct experience that I'm really here. But I may not be here in the way that you take me to be here. Because the way you take me to be here is what's in your mind. And the way I take you to be here is what's in my mind. And the two are not the same. So Buddha said, don't waste your time. So we learn how to do things expediently in life with no sense of I or my or me or mine. And then life becomes easier. Life becomes simpler. We find ourselves able to go through the ups and the downs, the vicissitudes of life without so much trouble. And little by little, we get better and we get better. I think we have a number for him. Could you make sure that he gets it? Everybody knows little Jim, right? And they know little Jim loves his dog, right? And his dog died yesterday. And Jim is having a really, really difficult time. So keep him in your prayers. I know how it can feel. Just depends on where you are. We had to put our cat to sleep a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And when it had to be done, it had to be done. I went to see, how many of you remember Marsha? Marsha Burns? Yeah. Well, Marsha is dying, and they called me to come down and see her. So I went down on Monday and came back on Wednesday. But I can tell you the truth. You know how much I love Marsha, because Marsha and I used to sneak off sometimes. And I could really sneak off with her. She like marched to her own drummer, so she never judged me, and I just enjoyed sneaking off with her. And when I saw her in that bed, I didn't even recognize her. And yet I could hold the moment. I could hold her in my arms, even though she was so fragile. I was afraid I might break something, but I could just hold her, you know, and rock with her. And she was happy that I had come. She said to tell everybody that she loves everybody and that she has missed you so much. And I asked her, was she ready? And she said, oh yeah. She said, I've been ready. And I looked at her and the suffering, the physical suffering that she's going through. And I told her children, she's ready. We can let her. But I can tell you of a truth that as much as I love Marsha, I felt no grief. The only grief I felt was, or I can't even say it was grief, but the emotion that I felt was, this is the fruit of birth. There is. And watching in that moment, my own feeling about everything let me know where I am. So we can think we're someplace, but when we're called to a task in the moment, that's when we really know. That's when we really know. So I learned something at that moment. I tell you, I'm always burying my children every day. Always burying Panya Deepa. You know, so that when that time comes, it'll be so old hat for me. I'll just be able to walk through it because I've done it 1,000 times. But what I learned in that moment was not even necessary. That what is really in you, if it's really in you, it will rise in the moment that you need it. If it's not in you, you can't fake it. And so one needs to know what they really believe. One needs to put forth the effort, just bit by bit, step by step, to walk more fully in what you say you embrace, because there's going to come a time when you're going to need it. And nobody else can give it to you at that moment. There was a time that I relied on the completed works of Jesus. It gave me such a comfort and a joy and a peace in the way that I understood his sacrifice to be able to give me some truth. And if I could take hold of it, it could comfort me. But I reached a place in my life that was his joy and his comfort. I needed to have my own. And then I found the Dharma. And from that day, I have undertaken this training to know my own mind and to find that steady, still place where I'm not grasping or attaching to anything. And when I see that I am grasping, because I do every day, I have some attachment every day. I have some aversion every day, but when I do, I can see it. And I decide in that moment. I know I'm deciding what I'm going to do, how I'm going to whether I'm going to reach for the high road or just, take what feels comfortable. But I'm recognizing that I am deciding in every moment what is birthing here. And in this way, we learn that there is a strength that we possess at the depth of our being that has the capacity to overcome every crisis of life. And that's what freedom is. That's what awakening is. That's what enlightenment is. When one understands life and understands birth and death. And then you can go through every day, being with the day, not so caught up in how something affects one. It causes one to have anxiety, but to know that this is the way of this world. And guess what? We're already in it now. But there is a way of escape in this very life. And first, we have to have the confidence to embrace that, to know that there is an exit, there is a way of escape. And then we have to discipline ourselves to take the nutriment that we need to be strong enough to walk out of this reality while we're sitting here. And the only thing that it takes is a shift. Letting go of what hinders. Letting go of our sadness. Letting go of our envy. Letting go of our jealousy. Letting go of our fear. As I watched Marsha in that bed, Marsha loved clothes. I mean, she really loved clothes. It doesn't matter now. I could just tell it on when her daughter took over her counts. Marsha, I don't know, how was Marsha, 75, something like that, yeah, about 75. Her daughter said, look at this. She's got $63,000 in charges for clothes. She said, I mean, they're all in the closet because she can't wear any. She just keeps buying more clothes. But at some point, none of that. I mean, you can't take any of that. So at some point, all the things that seem so important to us, the things, how people think of us or feel of us, or the image we want to have, the ones that we love, the skills that we possess, there'll come a time that all. Most of us in this room are getting close to that time. And so I say to you, don't squander. And it doesn't mean that we throw everything away, we give everything away, we walk away from our loved ones. It doesn't mean that at all. but just having a willingness to cultivate that kind of heart begins to set us on a road, a trajectory where we actually encounter, we actually come into contact with a mind that is free. This is my advice to you today, to be simple and to be free. Come down from all the lofty things that we gravitate towards as me, as my, and mine. To just come down to where we find ourselves in the place just right. So when I'm too high, I know how to bring myself down. Do you? When I'm too low, I know how to bring myself up. Do you? When I am too close to myself, I know how to put some distance here. Do you? When I am too far away and too detached, like not wanting to face the issue or the circumstance or the person or whatever, I know how to draw them close. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shall not be ashamed. That breaking down of the egoic mind that always has to have to be something in the face of others. There will come a time when that won't matter to you at all, but it'll be too late then to do anything about it. Just be trying to tie up loose ends, calling people and saying, forgive me, can we all just get along? The life is frittered and gone. He says, turn, let turning be our delight. And by doing so, we will come round right. I have a vertigo problem right now, and when I get up, and so if I get up and go right, then in my head keeps going right. Only I just made a right turn, but the head, something in my head wants my body to keep turning right. You know, so we have to be able to turn around right. We have to know just how much to turn, just how much to do. And for one person, it may be more than another. I can't tell you how much turn. You can't tell me how much turn. But we each can know by the amount of peace and tranquility, joy and evenness, strength and courage to shoulder adversity, concern for the other really as much as we have concern for ourselves. To be able to do what's not convenient for you because it's the time that one needs something. Find out what we truly make up, who we truly are. And if you could see yourself in that way, you would love unattached, unafraid. The abandonment of vanity is such a relief. So people usually go through a period of learning and they can leave their teacher, their parent, whatever, and start out on their own. Do what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it, where they want to do it, why they want to do it. You know, that's the American way, isn't it? But I tell you, our truth today. I've turned and turned until I'm coming round right. And now I'm always talking about when the master calls from afar. But now I'm saying I can step closer to the master. Done all I wanted to do, said all I wanted to say, have been all I wanted to be. And I'm through. And it feels so good to come, to draw near, to come. It's so opposite of the way of the world. It's so opposite. The Bible says one who will lose his life shall find it. And it's only when you're at that place of losing, sacrificing, surrendering all that you can really find your life. Think about these things this week. Think about the things that so easily beset you, the things that still have you anxious, the things that you're still grasping around and craving for and have aversion to. And write them down and then begin to work on them one by one until you see through the impermanence of each one. I tell you, on the other side of impermanence is not nothing. On the other side of impermanence, there is something. But it's just kind of like explaining land to a fish. We don't have words. The problem is language. He said, so even the Buddha said himself, I don't have words because they can't exist in this world. He says, but you can have the direct experience and you know. So coming up on the holiday season, some may be sad because they don't have loved ones with them. Some may be sad because they do have loved ones with them. And they have to go there. So I have this theory about family, really, you know. It truly is a karmic thing, you know. But just remember, if we're happy at this time, that there's some who are sad. And if we're sad at this time, we can decide that we'll be grateful for whatever we do have. And that right there will shift the mind. Buddha Master has all of us practicing on a technique of shifting the mind. You know, like how we like to meditate. We look like really good meditators, and we're sitting here looking so peaceful and at ease, and we're like raging inside, or we will be in a minute as soon as I step outside and somebody steps on my shoe or something like that, you know. And so, and we're sitting here, and we're like starting to like just let everything fall away, You know, and that's not, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying there's an appropriate time for the falling away. But it's not when things first start to fall away. That's called relaxation. I'm not talking about relaxation, meditation, they call it a form of relaxation. But actually, he talks about intently reviewing and assessing our conduct, our words, our thoughts. And where we see anything that is out of line or not in agreement with what we actually hold to be our standard, look at it carefully, see its harmfulness, and then abandon that in one's own heart and mind, turning from that. Then you might do it again 5 times, or you might do it 10 times. But once you make up in your mind that you're going to look at, you're going to watch for, and every time it comes up, you're going to acknowledge it to oneself, then it stays in the forefront. One of these times, you're going to do something. You're going to say something. You're going to think something. Because it'll be that turning, because one is continuing watching. And when you do confidence, it will sprout in you because you recognize, I myself handled this. I myself pulled out this sting. I myself overcame this adversity. And you'll have more and more confidence that this truly is a path that leads to deliverance, because the accomplishment will be there. We talk a lot about practice. We call ourselves practitioners, but there's not too much talk about accomplishment. Be one of those that accomplishes, reaches their goal. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, no danger. May you always be able to meet the inevitable difficult of life. And Jim, next time you come, you need to put that on